this party started, so please find a seat. Lots of seats still available, but very, very excited to see a packed house. My name is Ashley Beckner at Omidyar Network. We are so thrilled to be here today in San Diego, co-hosting this event with Sesame Workshop and Promise Venture Studio. For those of you who joined us in San Jose, you may recognize me as crowd control. We have a smaller room today, so I will just be here giving you an update on who's coming next. We're going to roll right through. We got lots of really exciting content today. And we're so glad that you're here to hear more about what I hear Michael Moe shared last night was one of his most exciting trends in education today, which is innovation and impact in early childhood. So without further ado, I'd love to welcome the one and only Deborah Quazzo to kick us off.
Thank you, Ashley. Am I on? Yeah, there we go. I'm actually really just here to welcome you all to this session. We could not be more thrilled with Omidyar and Sesame Street and Promise Ventures for pulling together this extraordinary program today. It is a first for us, and my partner Julia Stigligz, our fund, and Karina Giangiani also worked very closely with the team in producing this. And early on, actually, the first year we had move over, sorry. Yeah, it's the Stigligz. I was trying to stay out of the Stigligz. The first year we have a women's lunch on Monday, and we gave a Lifetime Achievement Award to Marguerite Kondracki. And Marguerite, so in the very first year that we did it, we gave an award to an early childhood pioneer. Marguerite was one of the co-founders of Bright Horizons, and actually another one of the co-founders, Roger Brown, will be here tomorrow talking about his latest gig, which is the Berklee Music School, which is fascinating. But we knew from the very beginning of starting the summit 10 years ago how critically important early childhood was. Our frustration was we just didn't see enough, and we're an innovation conference, and we're not a research conference, we're an innovation conference, and our frustration was we didn't find enough innovative things happening in the early childhood space. It was completely obvious, as Michael talked about last night, that investment in early childhood is the absolutely most important thing we could do is in the formative years of anyone's life. But we were frustrated. We actually had some program probably 3 or 4 years into the summit around early childhood. It did not get an enthusiastic reception. So we basically tabled it and began to talk to really Omidyar and Promise last year as we began to see these waves of innovation coming into the early childhood sector with great excitement and enthusiasm. So we are thrilled that this is a full room of people wanting to hear about innovation in the early childhood space. We think it is a long overdue development in our program. We actually hope to make it a larger part of our program next year. So if you really love it, let us know, and we'll expand it beyond half day. We'll put it into more. So thank you all so much for being here, for actually showing how critically important this space is, and thanks for all the pioneers here between Omidyar and Promise and Sesame Street for the original innovator, actually, in the early childhood space. Thank you all for making this already a success. So thanks so much.
I'm Kris Perry, and I am the Deputy Secretary of Health and Human Services for the state of California, and I'm a senior advisor to the Governor of California, Gavin Newsom. I am here today as maybe there's more than one. Hi, old friend. I knew I would see old friends here today. I have been at this for more than 30 years, and there has been an unbelievable amount of innovation and creativity in the early childhood sector for all of those years, if not more. What we're here to do today is talk about how we might be able to merge what's going on in the public sector at scale with what's been going on in the private sector through really good investments in innovation. I want to start by telling you a little bit about why I'm even attracted to the field of early childhood. I really believe that we are not born equal, that we are made equal through laws and policies. And early childhood is the very first and best opportunity for us to invest in Californians or kids all over the country. What you're going to hear today through the different panels, including one that I'm moderating with some really, really exciting leaders in this field, is how we're taking these innovations and investments and looking at how to scale. And when we try to scale, what barriers are we finding that are preventing us from getting these really good ideas off the ground? There are really important laws, both at the federal, state, and local level that do lots to get kids the care they need. One of the reasons I'm most proud to be a part of the governor's administration, and I hope if for anybody who's a Californian, you should be very, very proud of the fact that the highest ranking official, public official in this state, ran his campaign almost entirely by saying that he was going to invest in the very youngest kids not even born yet in California. I personally feel that it's the greatest honor of my career to be a part of the team that's working to create a California we can all be proud of, where the very youngest children are given the help and the opportunity they need to succeed and compete with your children. It is everything to him, and it's really important to me and the team that he's put together. For those of you who work in the private sector and know how important leadership is, I think we have a great CEO in charge of California, because he not only cares about all of the kids in the public education system, he's putting leaders in place to ensure that no matter which part of the public system that we all interact with. So how many of you have been to the DMV lately? Okay, I guess nobody has to go to the DMV. There are lots of problems across government, but where we're going to do the most, I think, is around early childhood, and that is because proof of concept is done. Whether you look at Heckman or any other research that's come out, the most growth that happens in a child's life occurs in the first 3 or 5 years of life, depending on how you look at it. The fewest number of public dollars are invested in children at that age, or frankly, at any age in our lives. So without further ado, I think we should get started, but I want to be sure that you're keeping in mind all of the innovation that's going on across the country and around the world is only going to make the greatest impact if we can figure out how to intersect it with what's going on in the public system around public education for the youngest children. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Glickman, the founder of Promise Venture Studio. And I don't know if, with Deborah, I want to thank her. I know she said she's just following the innovation, but I've been working with her for a few years. And she has done a lot to lead the innovation, making this about cradle to career, and more than covering it, also highlighting the importance, the foundation of the early years. I also want to thank Omidyar Network and Sesame. We created an event in the fall, Early Futures, which was really bringing a spotlight to innovations that could really make a difference in early childhood. And we were the new player on the scene, but it was really showed the power of networks to really get to a critical mass and highlight what we think is the beginning of a wave of some really interesting new developments in a complex field, but a super important foundational field. So I want to tell you, Promise, we're a new organization. We're 1 year old. We're a nonprofit venture studio. We call ourselves a studio because we do a few different synergistic things all around encouraging entrepreneurship and innovation in early childhood. Our focus is on the US. Our mission is particularly helping children and families most in need, but we support all ventures because we think everyone plays a part in making this system work. And what we're really about is trying to boost the small but growing entrepreneurial ecosystem. I've been involved in the educational world as well. I was an early employee at Teach for America. I was involved in the New Schools Venture Fund when it launched. So I saw firsthand from those of you from the education world how when you create an entrepreneurial ecosystem, it becomes self-generating. You get more talent coming into the field, more ideas, more capital from all sources. And that's what we're trying to do here. And we think this is a good, encouraging start with more to go. So just quickly to give you an idea of what Promise does, we have a model of trying to attract more people to the field. We're passionate about early childhood. We want to make the case for why it's an important area to invest and that there are things that you can do to make a big difference. So that's doing things like events like this, getting more people exposed to the field. But the bulk of our work is on supporting existing ventures in the field or new ventures to get to full scale and impact, and then connecting them. So you'll, on the support front, we just announced a fellowship program where it's sort of like a accelerator-like program. So if you know of ventures that are trying to get to faster growth, or to greater impact. If you go to promisestudio.org, we have an application there, and we have a 3-month program that should hopefully provide good support for ventures. And we have a whole bunch of other programs running to support ventures. And on the connecting front, we talked about Early Futures, was an event where we highlighted 50 of the top innovators and put them in a room with a diverse cross-section of academics, policymakers, practitioners, people in government, private investors, philanthropists and the like. And we were going to continue that in this fall with virtual events where we can attract more people and get to a critical mass of all of the innovators and all of the investors. And we support both for-profits and nonprofits, but get a critical mass of both of them to ensure that the right ideas get the right attention and get the right support. So look for more of those, and we hope that you will all join us in some of those. And what I'd say is we're excited about we're daunted about, early childhood is a complex field. It's part a health problem, part an education problem, part social service. But we see a lot of green shoots out in the field. The science is really clear, and one of our partners, Harvard Center on the Developing Child, has done a lot of good work to show not only why the science is important and foundational for really lifelong success, but some of the mechanisms that exist to actually drive, improvements that are working in lab environments and test environments. So we know a lot of what the science can do. On the technology side, the technology is now pervasive enough that you can actually connect a disparate ecosystem like this, where it's been tough in the past to connect all parties. So with mobile technologies and social networks and the like, there are things that you can do to reach more children, create more organizations that serve those children better. So technology is coming at the right time, that science is also involved. Investment is growing. You've got both philanthropic capital and investment capital coming to the fields in much bigger amounts than were in the past. And as Kris talked about, and we'll talk about more, you're starting to see a lot of policy attention. And it's not just California, it's everywhere. And I've been around in California long enough to see that California is often a trendsetter on things like green technologies, and what happens in California has enough heft that it spreads around the world. So I'm excited that we have all of these different forces coming together, and that while this is a larger group than we ever had, that this movement will begin that will make it even easier for us to make lives better for the millions of kids who deserve the best start in life. Thank you.